Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here, and I saw Jurassic World Dominion, the epic conclusion to the Jurassic World trilogy. Though I have to say, I've never seen a franchise conclude with less emotional and personal stakes for the characters. Like, we've spent 3 movies following them, guys. Like, this is what you have to offer for their send-off. I always go into movies open to the possibility of liking them. And in fact, I actually really did enjoy Jurassic World. It was a pretty fun theme park ride of a movie. Colin Trevorrow actually did an okay job of placing the camera right in the middle of the action. So whenever there's like a dino bite, it's like, or whenever there's like a foot stomp, it's like, and then the camera's like running alongside and the legs are going everywhere. Like, there were some good moments like that made the movie feel like a Universal Studios park like simulator ride. And this new one I do think mostly serves the purpose of escapist entertainment. If you want to shut off every part of your brain excluding the popcorn eating functions, you might have a good time with it. And I did have a little bit of fun watching this movie at times. But ultimately I think that the existence of this movie is just kind of depressing. Even when I was being dumbly entertained by it, I was like, I am not gonna remember any of this in 40 minutes. It's just a mega budget inevitable sequel designed to be immediately consumed and forgotten, like a McDonald's meal. They didn't even give you a happy toy that you could take home with you. I think an AI could have written this movie. It's just absolutely soulless. Jurassic Park was about capturing the wonder and terror of dinosaurs, and this one's really just about capturing the terror. The dinos are mostly just obstacles for the movie to create conflict and action, and it's actually kind of unusual how little they actually drive the story. The 2 main plot points here are that girl get kidnapped who has dino DNA, and of course like the government like wants her. And meanwhile, there are giant lab jacked up locusts that are threatening the world's food supply. And you gotta put a stop to those guys. They're fucking disgusting. There's just nothing interesting about these 2 plot points. They don't weave together in an interesting way. They just exist to create a complicated plot so that the characters can have conflict to do. And the movie can make lots of noise and throw dinosaurs at you. Even in Jurassic World, which is basically bare minimum in this sense, it does ask some questions to the audience. Can the humans and dinos coexist? Can humans control nature? Will Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt fuck? They had that opposites attract thing going on, and even though it was cliche to watch the uptight woman have to learn the ways of like the chill man, at least the characters were learning something. Movies are interesting when the characters have personal stakes in these questions that the movie asks. Like, can humans and dinosaurs coexist? Is a great question for Chris Pratt, who's all into like taming dinosaurs. That's not a deep or complicated thing. It's just the bare minimum of a compelling story. I'm not saying that there needs to be like intriguing philosophical questions raised in the fucking dinosaur movie. But the questions in this movie are like, are they gonna get their daughter back and are they gonna stop the locusts? And the answer to these 2 questions from the moment that they're proposed is so obviously yes. And no characters have anything else like going on with them that ties into these questions or creates any sort of tension. This movie could have easily been about how Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard need to learn how to be good parents to this girl that they've like recently adopted, who they're having some troubles with in the beginning of the movie because they tell her not to escape because she's gonna get caught. And they're like, should we give her freedom? But then she gets caught and it's like, oh, the parents were just right. Like that conflict is just done. They could have easily made it a movie about them learning to be proper parents. I am just seeing bare minimum storytelling absent in this movie. It's not a lot to ask for. Like any Marvel movie will have these basic things. And there's just no excuse for it. I mean, this is the finale of a goddamn trilogy. Think about even like Twilight or The Kissing Booth. I mean, in those movies, when you're at the end of a franchise, your characters better be fucking crying. Everybody's just an action figure in this movie. They even bring back the original, trio from Jurassic Park. I did like the moments where you're kind of wondering if Laura Dern and Sam Neill are gonna get together, but they only really gave like 2 minutes to that story. And what was this movie's excuse to look so much worse than Jurassic World visually? It just looks gray and muddy. Someone needs to investigate what's happening with blockbusters like this. Is it because the movie is like the finale of the trilogy that you think that it needs to look darker and more rainy? Also, why is Colin Trevorrow's directing such a downgrade? Most of the shots are just so compositionally flat. It just felt like they were filming what is taking place on screen just in order to cover it and have things to edit to rather than to try to give the audience an immersive experience, which I think the first one actually did do a lot of the time. This movie did do that well in maybe a couple moments. There's a shot where Bryce Dallas Howard's like slowly crawling into the water to avoid a dinosaur who's like right behind her, and the camera's just slowly like tracking her. The movement of the camera feels in sync with the tension of that scene. And then there's this great shot of the dinosaur like above the water and the camera dips below the water level to see Bryce Dallas Howard. Like, that's the kind of movie making I would like to see in a popcorn blockbuster like this. Most of the set pieces are really cluttered and just kind of boring looking. It's just a soulless product. Nobody who made it cared. And sure, maybe it does the job and you can justify its existence for that, but I'm not gonna settle for that. Spielberg would not settle for that. He showed us that characters holding their breath and avoiding a dinosaur in like a little kitchen area could be more exciting than like a motorcycle chase down the street from like a brain chip raptor, and then he has to fly his motorcycle into a helicopter. Like, you don't need all that to make an intense movie. A Quiet Place is another good example of how less can be more. In conclusion, the movie was just shockingly bland. I didn't have many expectations for it to be a great movie, but it didn't even deliver, I think, the bare minimum. Movie gets a 4 out of 10 from me. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Which dinosaur from this movie did you think was the sickest?